In this presentation, we'll look at more recent developments, post-World War II expressions of the international style in the United States, a dramatic style known as Expressionism, and a style that emerged in the late 1970s known by the slight misnomer of postmodernism. In the United States, the international style had most of the 5 principles outlined by Le Corbusier, but keep an eye out for some differences. The Lovell House has asymmetrical, dramatically suspended floors and is known as the Lovell Health House because of its numerous outdoor terraces the owners used for exercise space. It exhibits many of the characteristics of the international style we saw in European examples. There is an absence of ornament, the effects of mass and weight are minimized, and the effect of pure volume is emphasized. The building features flat roofs and smooth, uniform wall surfaces. Windows turn the corner of the building, floors are cantilevered, and the material is stucco over concrete. And although falling water also has asymmetrical, dramatically suspended, or cantilevered floors, its contrasting vertical stone core distinguishes it from the more orthodox examples of the style. The bank building in Philadelphia, now a hotel, known as PSFS, is said to be the first international-style skyscraper. Its base, the banking floor originally, features a smooth, curved corner sheathed in a polished granite, with upper floors that cantilever slightly beyond their outermost columns. Inland steel has similar cantilevered floor slabs, but it is unique in totally separating its service elements, stairs, elevators, restrooms, into a windowless tower to the east, and have column-free interior spaces made possible by the exoskeleton of 7 columns on each side. Materials are very different: glazed brick for PSFS and brushed stainless steel in Chicago. These 2 wood houses on opposite coasts deviate slightly from Le Corbusier's 5 principles because, although not gabled, their dramatically cantilevered roofs are nevertheless both sloped. The Massachusetts example features a bifurcated floor plan and sits firmly on the ground, while the California example encloses its upper floor with a cantilevered terrace. 2 more residential examples, both with flat roofs and dominant rectilinear forms. Breuer and Gropius's design is sheathed in cedar, while the house in the Pacific Palisades area of Los Angeles is made like an erector set, with prefabricated steel windows, beams, and joists holding colorful sugarcane fiber panels. Expressionist buildings are sometimes metaphors for their functions and in all cases feature dramatic form. The auditorium and synagogue are related in their common use of a dome, sliced away on 3 sides and resting at 3 points on the ground. Kresge features a metal-clad roof and curtain wall enclosure, while the synagogue, located in a warmer climate, is enclosed by a perforated concrete screen. Baker House is a dormitory dominated by a serpentine wall facing the Charles River. As a result, each room's view is at a different angle. The hockey rink also has a serpentine feature, its concrete spine supported by 2 muscular columns at either end of the rink. The nature of the curvilinear forms is very different, however, with the dorm's curved element at its southern wall and the rink's curved element central to its roof structure. Saarinen's most famous building at JFK Airport symbolizes flight. Like his hockey rink in New Haven in the previous slide, the concrete shell roof is supported by sculptural concrete columns at the edges of the space. The Opera House's concrete shells have a different symbolic function in that they suggest the echoes or sound waves of the singers' voices. This dramatic angle on the terminal and the architect's sketch of the Opera House roof show us the similar nature of the roof shell forms. Postmodernism is perhaps a misnomer since it returns to the pre-modern architectural elements, such as masonry enclosures and, on occasion, recognizable classical motifs. It revolted against chaste, orthodox modernism, and historical references are evident. They may be whole or fragmented. The piazza or plaza in New Orleans has recognizable classical motifs, such as classical columns and Palladian openings, a central arch flanked by two narrower trabeated openings. Its postmodernism is the ironic use of chrome for the column capitals and of neon lights to highlight the arches. The Best Store from the same year introduces a different style known as deconstructivism, since the building appears to be coming apart. The corner slides open on tracks in the morning to admit customers and closes up at the end of the day by sliding back into place. Venturi's unbuilt house refers directly to Mount Vernon with its quirky almost symmetry, rusticated wood surface, pediment with oval window, lantern, and arcaded links to secondary forms known as dependencies. While the earlier house, in it the dependencies are entirely separate and contain kitchen and stables, in the 1979 project there are major spaces containing living room on one side and garage, kitchen on the other. In another unbuilt design, Edward Levin refers closely to Jefferson's building, which in turn refers to Guimard's. All three have a central concave bay, topped by a half dome and shielded by a colonnade. While both exhibit chimneys, Jefferson positions his squarely at the center, while Levin places his asymmetrically. The Portland building looks back to Behrens's factory with its masonry corners and central curtain wall. While the corners in Portland are punctured with windows, those in Berlin are unbroken. The Portland building's curtain wall is ornamented with fluted columns, angular capitals, and the suggestion of a keystone. The Chicago Library was the controversial winner of a competition because of its historical references: a pediment rendered in glass, terracotta festoons, molded arched windows, and smaller arched openings at its base. The festoons and variously scaled arches are evident in both libraries. While the Chicago Library's arches are molded and set into the wall, those in Paris spring from piers. Finally, the most famous postmodern tower is topped with a broken pediment drawn directly from the illustration for a desk. Clearly, the two examples have different functions and use different materials. The AT&T building, rather than exhibiting a glass curtain wall enclosure, uses a historic material, imperial granite.